The train station hadn't been in use for nearly 40 years, yet it stood remarkably intact, as though waiting for a final arrival that never came. Weathered timetables still hung over dust-covered ticket booths, names of long-defunct destinations barely readable beneath layers of grime and time. The benches remained lined along the platform, rotting but steadfast, facing the rusted tracks that curled out of sight into the trees. Eliza hadn't come searching for it. She was out hiking, chasing a faint memory from childhood, when her grandmother used to speak of a place where voices whispered from the walls and trains passed that never stopped. When she stumbled upon it, hidden by tall grass and brambles, she felt an odd sense of recognition, as if some part of her had always known it would be here. The air was unnervingly still, the way it gets just before a storm breaks, though the sky overhead was clean and blue. Drawn more by intuition than curiosity, Eliza stepped past the broken fence and made her way toward the platform. Her boots crunched on shattered glass and scattered pebbles. At each step, she expected a squirrel to dart out, or a bird to shriek from the rafters. But there were no creatures here, no signs of the natural world daring to reclaim this place. As she crossed the threshold of the waiting area, the temperature dropped several degrees, enough to make her arms bristle in spite of her thick jacket. She paused, glancing over her shoulder. Nothing moved beyond the trees. The path she'd taken was already swallowed by the tall grass, as if she'd never been there. Inside, faded posters still clung to the walls, promotions for destinations like Everspring, Marrow Bay, and Tolliver's Reach, places she was convinced didn't exist. A wave of dizziness hit her then, as though she'd crossed through some invisible barrier. There was a bench in the corner that looked strangely untouched by rot or dust, and though she tried to ignore it, something compelled Eliza to sit. As she did, the air seemed to hum softly, a vibration beneath her feet that resonated in her bones. Then she heard it, the distant rattle, like metal wheels turning over old tracks. She stood up quickly, heart racing. It was impossible, surely. Yet the sound grew louder, a rhythmic churning steadily approaching from the woods. She walked toward the platform's edge and squinted into the green blur where the old rails vanished. The trees remained still, unmoved by wind or motion, yet she couldn't shake the feeling something was coming. Then, without warning, an icy gust whipped through the station, sending loose papers fluttering through the air. Eliza turned back and saw that someone had written across one of the windows from inside, traced in the dirt, "Waiting." The letters formed tall and precise, drawn by a careful hand. She hadn't seen anyone, hadn't heard anyone approach. Her breath caught in her throat. From the corner of her eye, she caught movement at the far end of the platform, a pale figure, just standing there, half hidden in shadow. She took a step forward, then stopped when something inside her screamed not to. The figure didn't move, not even to breathe. Its shape was off, not quite human in the way it held itself, as if arms and legs obeyed different rules. She glanced at the dusty clock mounted above the arrival board, frozen at 4:06. Her watch now read the same, though it had ticked normally moments ago. She told herself to leave, just turn and walk back through the grass and pretend this place had never been found. But her legs refused. It wasn't fear, it was a kind of heaviness, as if something inside her had taken root and grown still. The figure at the platform's edge hadn't moved, but now there was a second one behind it, thinner and taller, holding what appeared to be a lantern that gave off no light. As she watched, soft whispers started to filter through the station, indistinct at first, but slowly forming fragments of sound. Her name, her grandmother's lullaby, the name of a town she couldn't place. The lantern swung once, gently, and the tracks beneath her began to tremble with a rhythm she could feel in her chest, like the heartbeat of something enormous just beneath the earth. Then, cutting through the haze of memory and stillness, a light appeared beyond the tree line, dim, flickering, but undeniably growing closer. Train-like, but wrong in scale and sound. The figures on the platform turned slowly toward the light, as though summoned. Eliza wanted to run, but her body moved of its own accord, stepping forward, drawn to the rust-streaked edge of the platform. The humming returned, louder now, and the whispers rose to a low chant. As the light approached, she could almost make out the outline of the engine, charcoal black and impossibly tall. Yet no smoke, no steam, no breath of movement stirred the trees. Just before it emerged in full from the forest's edge, a third figure appeared beside her and whispered in a child's voice, "It remembers you."